Finally, I want to show you something that happens quite often on pitot static checks, is unfortunately leaks that are very large. In some cases, leaks can be too large for a pitot static tester to handle, just because the pumps are not powerful enough to compensate for the amount of leak that there is. A model 6300 can cover up a leak, depending on volume, up to about 15,000 feet per minute. But it will not be able to cover leaks that are higher than that. So the last part of this training is to show you what happens when there is a leak that is too large for the tester to handle, and what to do in these situations. So as you can see, I have opened the ports here to ambient, both PT and PS. What we'll do is a simulation of generation going into control and generation when both ports are open to ambient, and this is actually simulating an actual leak that you may have on your aircraft. So let's imagine that you've run the self-tests, that you have connected the hoses on your aircraft and your adapter kit. Everything is ready to go, and you will now go into control. So let's imagine that those hoses are connected, and I'm gonna leave them open. This is my actual leak simulation. So somewhere on your air attack accessory kit right now, you do have a very large leak, and you're trying to generate with that leak happening. So let's do that. So if I go in there and I click on ground, and I believe that everything is connected all right, I'm going to click on go. So this would be my next step after I run the self-test and connect it to the aircraft. Going to ground and go. So as you can see already, the equalization takes a little longer than it should. It's because the tester is having a hard time finding what is the right amount of volume. Indeed, it's pretty much infinite for that box right now. And as you can see, the rate here for Pitot Night came out of equalize. It's going to go to 20 knots. It's going to go past 20 knots like you would if you had a tight system. But instead of coming back to 20 knots as it should, it will continue running away. Same for the static. You might get a better indication about static, but here at this point, you should also see that on the Pitot side, there's something quite fishy happening. You can see on the static as well, it's not stable at the target values. So if you don't see your actual values being solid and like equal to your target values right now, that should trigger the idea that, you know, there's a very large leak going on in the system and I should stop the test right now. But let's say that you didn't see that and you will continue with your low level leak check. So you will go to 100 knots and you can see that now the airspeed is not going anywhere. So my ports are still open, right? So there's nothing is happening. Nothing is going to happen. I'm actually still at ground. Nothing has happened really. And you can see the rate is not following. It should be 160 knots per minute. And I'm still stuck at 49.67. So it will ramp up a little bit, but it will not get to 100 for sure. So at this point, you should have figured out like there is a very large leak and you need to stop your test. One thing that you should not do, absolutely not do, is try to fix that leak while the box is in control. What you need to do is either turn off the unit, that's solution number one, or, and that's the only case in which it's okay to do that, is switch both of the channel back to measure mode and work on your leak. So we'll push on the oval here, we'll select measure for Pitot, and then we'll do the same thing for static. We'll push on the oval here, select measure, and then click on go. The pump will disconnect. The airspeed is going to go back down to 0 or close to that. And now I can work on my leak. So there's something obvious going on, right? There's a leak that's above 15,000 feet per minute. So all of the fittings are not tightened, or there is a Pitot adapter that's not connected, or a static adapter is wrongly connected. There's something easy to check that will be able to be fixed easily. Now I will show you what not to do. Is going to ground here. So we redo the same simulation. I have my ports open, so I have a very large leak. I'm hooked up to my aircraft with a very large leak. I'm trying to generate some airspeed and altitude. If I go to 100 here, you will see the airspeed ramp up. but it will not get to 100. So same situation. So what I should do right now is either turn off the unit or go back in measure mode and work on my leak, and keep doing that until I get stable values at ground and when I ramp up my airspeed and altitude, which is not the case here. So what not to do though is the following. You try to fix your leak as you are still in control. So what I'm going to do is plug those fittings right now, the caps on the fittings. And what will happen is you get a very high rate here, and we got lucky here. We only got a surge of 67 knots. But the tester has stopped because it said it exceeded the rate limits. So this is very bad for the aircraft, because the box was trying to generate as much output on the pitot and static pressures, and it was sending very high pressures, which translates into very high airspeed. So you may create a very large surge of pressure in your instruments as you do that. And the box will come out of control and go back in measure and give you an error number. So this is really not a situation in which you want to be. Thank you for watching the Model 6300 training video. If you have any more questions, you can contact us at 281-325-8300 or visit us on www.laversab.com/aviation and look at all the different testers and options that we offer.